All right. There we go. Doing a bit of a new setup here, so let's see how it turns out. It's a little weird because I'm like using a screen right here and I can watch the stream here, and I have Stream Manager here on my computer. I have like a dual monitor setup, but I can kind of hear myself from my computer here, but I'm watching it right here, and it's a little disorienting, but not a big deal. Oh my gosh, you guys, what is going on with my hair? Looks about the same. So I actually have a plan today, you guys. Like, isn't that awesome? I don't normally have much of a plan, but today I've got one. I've got a few snacks. I've got some squid and some of these spicy snacks again. Got some water. Thank you for the lurk farm. And the big thing here is I'm probably not going to do a lot of gonna check on the kids, no worries. Probably not gonna do a lot of explaining today. I've got a performance idea today that we're gonna do featuring Bailey Sarian, who does one of my favorite channels. She does Murder Mystery Mondays, I think it's called. It's fantastic. I'm going to sample her voice because she doesn't use music in the background of it, so I can sample her voice and make some music behind it. And so we'll watch one of those videos and hopefully not get any ads. And then we will sample. My cousin actually runs a podcast, and I'm really excited to sample her podcast. The thing is with her, she also doesn't have music in it, but her podcast elements are shorter, and I wasn't sure if I could make a whole song out of it. So we're going to do a few different things here. So as you can see, I already have things kind of set up.
Are new here. Hi. How are you? I hope you're doing well. My name is Bailey-Sarian, and on Mondays I sit down and I talk about a true crime story that's been heavy on my noggin, and I do my makeup at the same time. If you're interested in true crime and you like makeup, I would highly suggest you hit that subscribe button because I'm here for you on Mondays. I'm so excited because I finally got like a new desk. It's the last desk I had, we took it out of the trash. People throw away some great stuff, okay? So we took it. But it's time that I upgraded because it just, okay. So I got a new desk and then I redid my background. And then last week, oh my God, let me tell you, one of my new favorite, not even new, one of my favorite YouTube channels is called Law and Crime Network. Do you watch it? Well, let me tell you, they upload full court trials. I'm talking the whole shebang, baby. Today's story, I watched all 12 hours of this court trial. Yeah, you're welcome. You don't have to now. And it's been heavy on my noggin. Oh my gosh, let me tell you, because I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I don't know. I don't know, you know? So I wanted to talk about it and then get your guys' input. I don't think I have to do a disclaimer because there is no graphic description of crime scenes. There is adult dialogue, probably strong language. Viewer discretion is advised. If you're ever curious as to what I'm using, I will list it down in the description box below. But other than that, let me tell you about this story. So the year is 2018. This story takes place in Delaware County, Iowa, in a small town named Irville. Now, Irville, Iowa is said to be a very rural. Oh my gosh, I can't say rural.
Welcome in G3.
Me sideways. Okay, well, I'm done. You know, this is it. Anyway, so Irville has a population of around 800 people. So it's like a small town to say the least. Most of the people in this area, they make their living by farming or hog farming. And that is where
Iowa, man.
Amy Mullis lived, and also where they owned and operated their family farm. So the Mullis farm was on a large piece of property. Like, it was big, okay? It's not like the little farm you're thinking of. It was a big farm. They had 2 large hog barns, tons of farming equipment, and spent majority of their time maintaining and operating the farm. This was how they made their livelihood. It's how they took care of the family. Amy Mullis, she was 38 in 2018. She was said to be bubbly and outgoing and just really fun to be around. She enjoyed helping out around the farm. I mean, I'm pretty sure she did. And she loved being around people. That's what was said. Todd was 43 at the time, and it was said that he was a very hard worker. He was a well-known, successful farmer in the area. He was a straight shooter type of guy. And then some neighbors would say that Todd had like a mean side to him. Another person said that he was scary. So Todd and Amy were married in 2004, and by 2018 they had 3 young kids. So in November of 2018, Todd, Amy, and their 13-year-old son Tristan were doing some work on the farm while the other 2 kids stayed inside of the house. Todd and Tristan, they went to work in one of the hog barns, which was pretty large. It's about the size of like a football field in length. And then Tristan said that he was setting up portable heaters inside the barn while Todd was setting up equipment to get water inside of the pens. Amy, who was inside, she came out and she was there to help clean the lights. She just had some kind of surgery done. It was never clear as to what surgery she had done exactly, but it was something minor. She was just kind of resting for a couple of days, and then this was the first day that she was able to get up and help around the farm. So while cleaning the lights inside of the barn, Amy grabbed a bucket, right? She placed it upside down. She was standing on it to help her reach the lights. Her son Tristan had noticed that she was kind of stopping, and she was grabbing her head, and she told Tristan that she was just getting a little dizzy, a little lightheaded, and that she was trying to hold herself on the bars close to her to prevent herself from falling off of the bucket. So she was kind of shaky, and then Tristan asked if she was okay, and she told Tristan yeah, I'm fine, I just got a little dizzy. Todd also noticed that she seemed to be getting lightheaded and said that he really didn't think it was wise for her to stay out there and work because he didn't want her to Todd asked Amy if she could grab a pet carrier out of the red shed that was about 30 yards or 27 meters away from the front of the barn where they were in. They had a bunch of cats and kittens on the farm, so they wanted to gather them all up and put them in the pet carrier. That way when Todd used heavy machinery, none of the cats would end up like getting hurt or anything, or like in the way of the heavy machinery. So that's what the plan was. Tristan testified that his dad told his mom, if you can get the pet carrier and bring it out, that would help, but if you can't, just leave it and then we'll go get it. This eyeshadow look is really hard to do while I'm talking, so hold on, let me do the other eye. Oh, here it is. Okay, so Amy leaves the barn where the boys are working at, and then the two boys, they kept working for about an hour and a half. When they were done, they went to the front office area. Todd looks out the window and sees that like the pet carrier wasn't moved out of the barn. So he assumed that Amy didn't get the pet carrier and instead must have like got inside the house. Todd asked his son if he could go to the red shed and grab the pet carrier because it wasn't.
How are you, Logan?
Tristan, the son, he runs over there. That's when he finds his mom on her hands and her knees, face down with a corn rake sticking out of her back. Yeah. Tristan said that he ran up to her, he checked to see if there was a pulse, and then he yelled for his dad. So his dad comes running and he told Tristan to go grab the family truck and to pull it up. Todd said then he pulled the corn rake out of her back, picked Amy up, and carried her to the truck. The shed where Amy was found is very narrow, and Todd said the only way that he could get her out of the shed was by removing the corn rake from her back, and that's what he did. Todd said that at that moment he just like went into fight or flight.
Very nice, Logan. Very nice. Classic. Classic.
So Todd said that he picked Amy up and he carried her out. Tristan pulled up the truck, he moved over to like the passenger seat, and then Todd like opens up the door and puts Amy into the truck, laying across her son, bleeding. Todd jumped into the driver's seat and started heading towards Regional Medical Center in Manchester and called 911 while he's driving. Mind you, where they live, it's like a very secluded area. There wasn't anything around them. It's just like grass. The hospital was like quite some time away. So Todd's just driving. And when he's driving, that's when he makes the frantic 911 call. And he's telling the dispatcher that she fell on a rake. She's not responding. He's frantic, as any of us would be. He then tells the 911 dispatcher that he had removed the corn rake from her back and was just on like full-blown panic mode on the call. The 911 dispatcher was like, "You're driving? Okay, can you pull over to the side of the road?" And Todd was like, "Pull over?" And the dispatcher was like, "Yeah, can you pull over and just start doing CPR?"
Okay, I think I want to do something like that.
Todd's like, "I'll do anything." So he pulls over, Tristan gets out of the car, he sits Amy up and then pulls the seat all the way back so she's laying flat. And then that's when he starts.
It's an ad. Don't look at the ad. There we go.
At this point in the call, you can hear Todd saying over and over again that she's cold, she's not responding, but he's still continuing to do CPR and just yelling like, "Come on, Amy, come on." So a police officer shows up to where they are, pulls Amy out of the truck, and continues to do CPR until the ambulance shows up.
How's this?
Amy to the hospital where she was later pronounced dead. Police officer who arrived at the scene noticed how traumatized the teenage son was. He was covered in blood. He just like had his mom.
What do you mean? What's up with the video?
Or maybe she was already dead. But either way, it was just like all around sad. There was a lot of judgment around Todd's choices. The decision he made to place Amy in the truck on top of their son. But Todd said again that he was just doing and not thinking through things clearly. The hospital that Amy was.
Darn it, Logan, you made me think something was actually wrong with this video.
Amy wanted to work at as a nurse. Now, she was taken in, they were told that it was just like a break, and that's really all they knew.
I just like Bailey-Sarian, and I'm using it to make some music.
Made it very clear how dangerous farming can be, or how just dangerous the job can be. They have tons of information available on how to prevent injuries and death while working. Anything from how to handle the heavy machinery, preventing a rollover accident, just educating on how these tools to help farmers are not to be fucked with. You know what I'm saying? I watched like a ton of these educational videos where they use like a dummy to show what can happen to you if you're not being smart. So I watched these like dummies get sucked into things that you just like don't want to be sucked into. It was brutal, it was intense. I don't know why I watched so many of them, but I just was like, whoa. Anywho, in 2017, there were 416 farm workers who had died from a work-related injury. I couldn't find information, like newer numbers. The one I could find was 2017. So what I'm getting at is there's like a lot of freak accidents that do happen to farmers. So the doctor has to make sure that Amy's injuries, they line up with this being an accident. So they do just that. And then they realize that her injuries did not seem to line up with accidentally falling on a corn rake. So the corn rake...
It's a murder mystery, Logan. Hey, Jen J, welcome in. Good to see you.
Or teeth, or claws, whatever they are, the four of them, and they were sharp. It's not like a rake. Nay. Well, medical examiners found that Amy had 6 puncture wounds on her back. 4 teeth, 6 puncture wounds. Now, how does that make any damn sense?
We're listening to some murder mysteries with some beats. Hope you don't mind.
There were 2 different directions of the 6 puncture wounds. To the forensic pathologist, it indicated to them that Amy would have to be hit by the rake twice and possibly 3 times to create the pattern that was on her back. But also, on the inside of Amy's upper lip was a small scrape and blunt force injuries to Amy's face, hands, and knees. Possible evidence of a struggle, but it was unclear because it may have been from her falling. So police are thinking, okay, the odds of Amy falling onto a rake twice, slim to none, right? So now they're thinking or treating Amy's death as a homicide. The day of Amy's death, a police officer went out to the scene, to the farm, and they checked around for any type of foul play. So inside of the red shed where Amy was found, there were a couple drops of blood on the floor where she was like laying at, but there was no other signs of blood or a struggle in the shed. Now again, because it was a narrow and just tight area, if there was any type of struggle, it would be a little more clear to investigators or police, like it would be more obvious. It's believed that if Amy was hit 2 to 3 times by this rake, there would be spots of blood on just like different places in the shed, on the suspect, or even on Amy herself, but there was none found. There was blood on Amy, but it was from her puncture wounds. So again, this was a small town, and the police force, they didn't investigate murders often, okay? Amy's death was only the 4th murder in the last 10 years. They felt like they couldn't really handle this, so they ended up handing it off to a larger department to help investigate. So of course, they have to look into the husband first. They go question him, what happened? And Todd.
Here we go.
Todd tells investigators he was in the other barn working with his son, and when the son was questioned, he said that his dad was with him or in his sight the whole time. Like they were working in the barn together. So it was a solid alibi, and nobody's story was changing. So they realized, okay, let's start looking around and see if there's something that we're missing. And that's when they learned that Amy and Todd had a bit of a rocky marriage. Amy had 2 affairs throughout their marriage. One of them had been like 5 years ago, and it had come to an end. After her first affair, Amy, she was working as a nurse. She ended up quitting her job to help work on the farm and also just to focus on her marriage. Todd said that she wanted to spend more time with her family, but Amy told friends that she really had no other choice. Like she had to quit her job and stuff. Amy's friend said it was a deal she made with her husband Todd. Todd said that it was what they both had agreed to. It was not just his idea. Amy had expressed to friends that
I'm glad you like it. Hey, Steph, welcome in.
That's all he wanted to do. And if he wasn't
I'm not sure if it's Jen or Jer or both of you, but I'm glad you like it. I
Amy was a
love
people
doing stuff like
person.
this.
She wanted to go out. She wanted to like live a little, you know? And Todd was just never down. So that was frustrating.
Steph, it's good to see you. Welcome in.
It was said that after the first affair, Todd really didn't trust Amy pretty much ever again. Amy had expressed to her friends that she felt like a prisoner in her own home, and she joked with friends that Todd had given her an approved friends list, people that she could actually hang out with. She also told friends that she would be timed when she left the house and like when she got back. So Todd was trying to keep tabs on her or like time her to make sure that she was saying where she was.
It's both of us. We lurk and see on the iPad, so it's refreshing seeing this. Oh, awesome.
Amy told her friends this.
Yeah, what's up, guys?
Amy confided in her friend that
I'm good,
her
Steph. How are you?
marriage just wasn't going well. She was really unhappy, and she hadn't been happy for a really long time, like for many years.
Breeze, thank you for the
Pretty sure
hydrate.
She expressed this to Todd because Todd said that he told Amy he wanted to make it work. He didn't want her to leave.
There's one.
He wanted to make their marriage work.
There we go.
And saw that Amy was texting and like calling this guy named Jerry Frazier.
Thank you for letting me know.
Who worked as a fields manager for the Mullis farm. Todd's looking at the phone records and he sees that the two of them had exchanged up to 128 texts that month.
Thank you, Jen and Jer.
I think there's like something more going on. Amy, she worked as a bookkeeper for the farm, so it was normal for she and Jerry to be in contact. Todd, he was like, I need some peace of mind here because he's just like getting fixated on this possibility of there being an affair. So Todd calls up Jerry and he's asking like, hey, is there anything going on between the two of you? Jerry said, like, no, nothing's going on. The reason that they were talking to each other was related to the farm, and also their kids both participated in sports together. So it was just all related to that and nothing more. So I guess Todd really didn't believe this because he decides that he's gonna call Jerry's wife. Oh yeah, Jerry was married too, and he had a family of his own. Okay. So Todd calls up his wife. Hey, have you noticed?
Yeah, it is dried squid. It's squid with vinegar. It's very good. Oh my gosh, thank you for the bits, Jen and Jared. Thank you so much for 100 bits.
I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm acting so dramatic, but anyways, so he does that. He asks the question. Jerry's wife said no, that their marriage was going really
I'll give you another shout out. Thank you so much.
Todd, calm down. Nothing's going on. He needs to just let it go. You know, everything's okay. Now, at this point, Todd said that it really, like, that conversation gave him the peace of mind that he really needed. He believed Jerry's wife. Todd
That looks way better than the ones we have here.
Jerry and apologized.
It is just from a convenience store, but it is very good. I love it quite a bit. I love squid.
He's like, I guess nothing's going on. I'm just being freaking paranoid. My bad. I'm in the wrong. But the truth was, Amy and Jerry, they did indeed start having an affair in late May of 2018. They would meet in secret, either on the farm or on back roads. And then
she was having an affair, you guys.
House. It seemed the relationship was mainly sexually focused for Jerry, but Amy was becoming more emotionally involved. Amy had mentioned to a friend like what was going on between her and Jerry and how she would like really like to get married to him one day. She even mentioned to friends that she was hoping Jerry was gonna leave his wife, but if he didn't leave his wife, she was okay with that and she was okay with being alone. But after Jerry received the call from Todd, he told Amy like, hey, I think we should slow things down. But with or without Jerry, Amy, she did start to plan to move out and seriously started thinking about filing for divorce. Amy had already started putting furniture aside, so when she moved, she would have like a few items with her already. Now, if Amy did end up filing for divorce, she would have been entitled to a good amount of money, maybe even half of the farm, which could force Todd to lose everything, so possibly a motive. So, like I've mentioned about 18 times, it was a small town. And what happens in small towns?
You don't understand
guys,
what?
Rumors start swirling.
Skeeter, it's good to see you. What don't you understand?
And there's lots of rumors going on that there's an affair happening between Jerry and Amy, which I used to kind of think I mentioned this as a side note. In one of my videos previously, I mentioned, I think it'd be so fun to live in a small town where everyone knows each other. Like, that sounds so fun. But the more I think about it, I regret my statement. It must actually
I'm a
really
metal
suck.
guy. No worries, man. No worries.
It would be all fun and games until you were trying to be a sneaky little bitch, you know? So a lot of people are talking.
I'm not hype at all.
Amy told her friend that she was going to sit Todd down and tell him
I'm making
that
music,
people are
man.
just talking and that there was no truth to these rumors. I'm not sure if this conversation or this talk actually happened, but it was brought up.
Oh my gosh.
Police are finding all of this out during their investigation. So they go back to Todd. They bring him back in November 16th, 2018 for questioning. They sit him down and they're like, well, it's just one guy. And he's like,
welcome in, Raiders.
How was the marriage between you and Amy? Todd said, it was pretty.
It's good to see everybody. My name is Johnny Bailey. I'm an independent music producer. I was born in Chicago and I grew up in Japan.
He said
it's nice to see you guys. I am currently sampling this Bailey-Sarian video. I'm making some chill beats over it. Please sit down and relax. It is a true crime kind of thing. I stop everyone that does and talk to them because I don't understand these one bit. No worries, man. No worries. You know, music is music. It's nice to meet you guys. Welcome in. Dobby, how was your stream? What were you playing? Also, Raiders, please refresh the stream or remove the refer raid thing so your view counts. It really helps me and my channel. Well, thanks. You're damn Naruto for my ramen obsession. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not Japanese. I just live here.
Since the first affair that she had 5 years earlier. So the guy in the interrogation room, he's like, look, Todd, she was
ooh, drawing. I love art streams. That's awesome, Dobby. And anyone who's in here, if you haven't checked out Dobby, definitely check out Dobby. He's awesome.
Know that, but the guy doing the questioning, he just wouldn't stop. And he was like, you were so mad about
that is an organ. I don't like organs.
There was no way you were going to let her take all of that from you. Not cheating on you twice, taking your kids, taking your farm. That wasn't happening. And you weren't going to let that happen. And I understand that. And Todd is just quiet the whole time. And he's shaking his head. But he's stuck to his story that he was.
That's valid too, Dobby. Trying to figure out stuff.
And he did not stab his wife with the corn rake. Todd said, you want me to confess to something that I didn't do. And that's all it comes down to. But the guy in the questioning room was just pushing. You killed Amy. I was surprised that he didn't ask for an attorney at that point. I think a lot of us assume that if we are telling the truth, then why else would you need an attorney? If there's anything you should learn, you should just always get an attorney if you're being questioned. And it's like, yeah, the attorney is probably gonna make you look guilty, but hey, it's better than like falling for some kind of trap. So, my face is so dry. Just let me live. So after 2 hours of direct accusations, Todd was allowed to leave because they didn't have anything on him. So he leaves and he goes back to the farm. I think before Todd's questioning, they needed to weed out Jerry as a potential suspect. So technically, I think this came before Todd's questioning. Sorry. But either way, they had to weed Jerry out as a potential suspect, okay? He was having an affair with Amy. Maybe he didn't want his wife and kids to find out and potentially lose his farm and family. He could have done it. So they go out to Jerry's and they're like, hey, can we talk to you? And that's when he told investigators that the two were indeed having an affair, but Jerry insisted that he did not have anything to do with Amy's death. He said the day of her murder, she and him had exchanged emails that morning. Jerry told Amy that he wasn't feeling too well.
So, Dobby, do you make your own emotes and stuff?
That she wished she could take care of him, that she's a pretty good nurse. But that day he was working at the farm with his own son at home, which was in Anamosa, and Anamosa was like 45 minutes away because he has his own hog farm. And oh my gosh, did I learn so much. He and his son got up and they were working on the farm and they're setting up tanning beds for the pigs. Yeah, girl, let me tell you. Pigs tanning. Yeah. They tan the pigs or the hogs. They tan them for hog shows. In winter, they lose all their color. I was like, wait, what? He's like, we said we're setting up the tanning beds. I was like, pigs. I've never related more to a pig, you know. I wonder if they know about like self-tanner for the pigs. I mean, that's an option. Do they get skin cancer? Look, I got a lot of questions about this, but anyways, they're tanning the pigs for a show, okay? That's what they're doing. After that, they went inside and the two of them, Jerry and his son, they watched college football together. Jerry said that the last time he had seen Amy was like a couple days prior when the two of them had participated in some oral loving. So Jerry ended up testifying in court that Amy had told him if Todd ever found out about the two of them having an affair, she would disappear. So investigators, they end up checking Jerry's phone record and they see that his cell phone had pinged on a tower near his home, which was enough proof to them to confirm that he was not the one who did this. So after this questioning with Jerry, that's when they questioned Todd. Anyway, so investigators, they carried out a series of search warrants and they gathered all of the electronic devices from the Mullis farm. They took computers, laptops, iPads, iPhones. Oh yeah, they had video cameras on the property. So yeah, they took that too. So they searched the video cameras, which they're pointed directly in the direction where everything took place. So I mean, if something was caught to be on those cameras, I mean the footage would be their smoking gun. But of course, the cameras stopped working prior to the incident, but started recording again the day after Amy's murder.
Just like Jeffrey Epstein, you guys.
Of course. So again, when investigators find this, they're thinking, well, this is proof that it's premeditated. Todd must have turned off the cameras when he was planning to do this. They put in a request to get all of the Google searches that were done on Todd's iPad, and what they found was all sorts of suspicion. They see that there were
or
some
this?
very odd searches
There
going
are specific
on,
names for
and
each of these.
Google,
These are
there
both
were
individual
topics
synths that I'm using.
What did the Aztecs
This
do
is
with
plugged into
James
this right now.
houses? What did they do? I don't know. There was another search done that said, did ancient cultures kill adulterers? Thrill of the kill was another search done. My eye is watering.
You gotta ship those octopus dry.
right now. Another search, killing unfaithful women.
Oh, the bottom one. This is the Teenage Engineering OP1. This is a pretty popular little synth. It's kind of expensive, but I bought it because it has such a small form factor.
But just listen, okay, because I know what you're thinking. It's Todd, it's clear thing.
It's fantastic. I love it. But yeah, it's a keyboard. This is also a keyboard. You can kind of see the black and the white keys here.
So after this, police are
Actually, Langjahr right now, shipping to the States is kind of a hassle because of COVID. There are all these restrictions in what you can ship and stuff like that.
For almost 7 months until his trial took place. Now Todd insisted.
Oh yeah, very portable.
That he was innocent and that this whole thing was just a freak accident. And he had a lot of supporters who stood by him, believing that this was true.
All right, let's change it up a little bit.
I watched the whole court thing, and it was so frustrating to watch. Todd's team sucked. They blew it. Todd's trial begins, and in the opening statements,
they're Marimo, Aisu. Thank you. I love them too.
Of Amy's death being an accident to the jury. Instead, they went on to say that Amy was, quote, viciously and deliberately murdered. Now, this took Todd by surprise, because that's not what you want to say when you're trying to prove to the jurors that, Todd might be innocent, and maybe, perhaps, it was just all a freak accident. So now Todd claiming that his wife's death was an accident was completely off the table, and this just wasn't even the plan. So the prosecution's case requires them to prove that Amy...
I don't know that buying things over borders would be a hassle, because I bought some things that ship from other countries, but definitely mailing, as people, is a little harder now, specifically to America, though, which is the interesting part.
So friends of Amy's took the stand. Now, one of the friends said that one day, Amy came to her just really upset and was crying. She said that if her husband had
DJD,
found
welcome
out
in, my
she
friend.
was having
No, but I'm
an
going to be
affair,
sampling her
he would kill
podcast
her.
later.
Another witness said that Todd told her that he had worked for a farm since he was 11 years old and he would not give it up. It was a red flag.
If you guys don't
for his
follow
friend,
DJD, check him out. He's my best friend.
Todd's gonna
He's
kill
the
you.
head of our
And
streaming
when they
group
asked
in
her, like, why
Sierra,
didn't you tell Amy
and he's
this?
all around a fantastic guy.
Why would you
Go
do
check him
that?
out.
And she said Todd is just the person you don't want to mess with. Todd and Amy's son, he ends up testifying for the court, which was Todd's solid alibi. But now he had changed his story, or his story had changed. Tristan said that he had left his dad alone at one point to get a drink of water. Now, originally saying he had gone for just a minute or two, and then in court when he's testifying, he said that he was unsure how long he was away from his dad. Now,
That's a little bit better.
Originally,
Oh,
he
Peak
said
at
that
2 months. Thank you so much.
left his sight, so that was a solid alibi. And now he's saying that, he had left for a period of
Guys,
time.
PCAT is also a great streamer. Go check her out. Thank you so much for 2 months. This is awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Did it. As I was watching this, I had some questions arise that Tristan leaves to get a drink of water, and he said maybe I was gone for a minute or two. I'm not really sure. Could Todd have gone out of the barn he was working in over to the red barn where Amy was, which the hog barn was a football field length away, so he would have to run that, kill Amy, run all the way back into the hog barn where he was before his son noticed. That's the question that really wasn't answered at all during the trial, and it was driving me freaking nuts. Like, how was that possible?
It laughs. It
without
should be
the son
3.
noticing?
No
I
worries.
don't
No
know,
worries,
because they never
PCAT.
answered it.
You got him
They
back.
never
You got him
even
back.
tried to answer it. Todd thought it would be best to take the stand and tell his side of things, prove that he's innocent. So Todd takes the stand, which is ballsy. He tells the jury that he never left the hog barn, and again, his story never changed. Cross-examination happened. That's when they bring up Todd's questionable Google searches. They're asking, like, hey, did you make these searches on the iPad? Start listing them. And Todd says no. Todd said that he was not the only one who used this iPad, that many different people in the family, they would use it from time to time. Now, another thing that they pointed out in court, but they didn't even focus on it, and again, I was like, I'm not understanding why nobody's bringing this up, because on the iPad, there were lots of searches made. There were searches found for wedding dresses. There were searches made for Zales, the jewelry store, and then also there were Pinterest searches made. And they asked Todd, like, do you know what Pinterest is? He has no idea. He has no idea what the hell that is. The prosecutors, they again look at these Google searches. This is his iPad that he made these searches. But why would Todd be searching for wedding dresses if he was the only one using the iPad? Again, it was like another question that was never answered. Yeah, those Google searches are like, they don't look good. So then they asked Todd, why did the video camera stop recording? Isn't that a little weird? Todd said that they had many cats and kittens on the farm, and where the camera equipment was, there was also a heater right next to it. In the colder months, the cats like to climb up or jump up onto the heater, and they lay on it to get some warmth. He believed they must have knocked the equipment all down, and which took the camera system completely off. Todd said the day after Amy's death, a family member mentioned to Todd, maybe your camera's caught something. Why don't you check your cameras out? And he went to go check it out.
See, all of this makes sense, right?
It was offline and it wasn't recording. So he put it all back together, plugged it all back in, and got it back up and running the next day. So that's why the camera started recording literally the next day. I mean, his answer sounded pretty legit. I'm sorry, it did. It sounded legit. So at this point, the Mullis trial was playing live on court TV, and there were many people who were invested in this case. Someone at home who was watching the trial took the time to analyze Todd's 911 call that he made when he was driving to the hospital. This person believed that Todd was saying something under his breath in the call. As Todd was performing CPR on his wife, the person who analyzed the call believed that Todd was saying, quote, cheating whore, and go to hell cheating whore under his breath. Now, investigators never heard that until they got the tip from the caller the night before the last day of the trial. Like something out of a movie, I swear, right? Todd, do you whisper cheating whore right there? Right there, do you say go to hell, cheating whore? So you don't hear that? And it's right in that, after you hear a ping, you don't hear go to hell, cheating whore.
Whoops.
You know when you hear, like, you don't hear anything in a muffled tape, and then someone goes, listen, they're saying banana, and you're like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden you hear banana, you're like, oh my god, yeah, they're saying banana. It was like that, because when you listen to it, you're like, I don't hear a damn thing. And then when they play it again, you're like, it could be Todd's team. Are they the defendants? Oh shit, I get everyone mixed up. But Todd's team, they come back and they're like, Todd was mumbling so cold.
I'm glad you like her, Steph. I love her too.
She's so cold. They play
Steph,
again,
Saf.
and then you hear, oh yeah, so cold. She's so cold. Many were and are unclear as to what he's saying, and it sounds like it could really be either or. The 911 tape, though, it becomes like the main focus in closing arguments to prove that Todd did it. This is the proof that they had.
I'm
This
eating these
is the
spicy
Google
things,
searches.
and they're
So the
not
jury
spicy.
deliberates, and
So don't
it takes
worry.
them 2 days to come back with a verdict.
They're like
now the jurors in later interviews said
kind
that
of
there
like
was
Cheetos,
zero
but kind of
evidence
different.
that
I don't know,
linked
really.
Todd to this murder, and wish that they actually provided more proof that he was linked to her death. But what they did find odd, obviously the Google searches that were made, that seemed to be proof that Todd was thinking of murdering his wife. Jurors also found it odd that Todd put Amy in the truck and he started driving to the hospital with her.
Have you had Takis
and
before?
then
I have. They
leaving
are
her.
kind of like Takis, yeah.
They thought any normal person
I
would
agree,
just call
I
911
agree,
first,
Jen and Jared. I
and
agree.
they
I like
just
it.
couldn't
Asian snacks a
wrap
lot.
their heads around the idea, like, why did he do otherwise? Which, whatever. They also voiced that Todd taking the stand actually just did not help his case at all. Todd came off very cold. He didn't show any emotion. He was a man of few words. And honestly, yes, it's very true. All of this led them to find Todd guilty for first-degree murder, or murder in the first degree. Now, when they read this verdict, Todd, he looked like just a sad fish. He was so bummed. His sentence was delayed due to COVID, and Todd used that time to hire a new lawyer who said Todd should get a new
Ooh, eye
trial
contact. Here we go.
because of
You and me,
what
Key Cat.
he
No. Hold on. After the ad. Okay.
conduct on the part of the
Now you and me.
prosecutors for raising the hidden whispers on the 911 tape, and that his original lawyers denied his right to Amy's death being an accident right from the start. The defense attorney should have left that door open for the jurors to decide if it was an accident or a murder, but instead they just took that option completely off the table. So they're trying to get him a new trial. The judge refused to throw out the guilty verdict. The judge ends up sentencing Todd to first-degree murder and life in prison with no opportunity for parole. The end. Now I know what you're all thinking, because I
I'll look at chat in a
thought
second.
so too. I was like, it's Todd. Those Google searches are like,
All right, here we
come
go.
on. I let it sit and marinate for a little bit, my thoughts.
I know why we're doing things that make me uncomfortable, but here we are.
And this one really started to bother me. I don't know what I would think if I were a juror on this case. I don't know if I would say he's guilty or not. I know I roll, but there are so many unanswered questions. There's so many unanswered questions. For example, where Amy was found, it was narrow, okay? It was narrow. What if it was just a freak accident? Just hear me out. What if...
It makes it worse that you called me out. No, I always call the people out who want it. I'm like, it's you and me. You and me right now.
Weigh about 20 to
Let's
30
make some eye
pounds,
contact.
was on the floor. Remember, she was getting
You're welcome.
dizzy and like lightheaded that day. What if she went to go pick up the pet carrier? She gets a little lightheaded. Maybe she like missteps. She missteps. She goes backwards and she walks into the corn rake. And then she's like, oh shit, I just walked into the corn rake. And she pulls herself off of it. And then what if she just got dizzy or she blacked out or something? and
I do
she
love true
falls
crime.
back
I
onto
do.
the corn rake?
Thank you,
Because
Pyro.
Nobody mentioned.
Pyro, it's good to see you.
Where was the corn rake? Was it hanging up? Was it standing up? Was it on the ground? Was the corn rake even left in the barn? Now, another thing, if it was a murderer, how was someone able to swing and hit her with the corn rake? It was super narrow in there. That means they would have to, like, they didn't give you any ideas or anything as to, like, how this happened. Also, nobody presented an idea how Todd would have been able to make it all the way across the farm, kill Amy, get all the way back before their son would have noticed. How the heck did that happen? And wouldn't the son, like, wouldn't he have noticed that Todd was, I don't know, sweaty or like out of breath?
Morbid or crime junkie. Ooh. Thank you, Jen and Jer, for the lurk. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Even just a few minutes to get water. Can you run a whole football field and back in just a few minutes? Can you? The Google searches are like,
Stay Sexy, No Get Murdered. I am not familiar with that podcast.
That was about, but
Bappo, welcome in. Welcome in.
But if Todd was the only one using this iPad like they swore up and down he was, then again, why were there searches for wedding dresses, jewelry, and Pinterest? If Amy was paranoid that something was going to happen to her, if like Todd found out she was having an affair, maybe she was Googling what could happen to her. Maybe she's Googling
I'm doing good.
I'm
doing good. Having a good time.
Women cheating, so she knew.
Chilling on stream. How are you? Have you had a good day?
I'm not trying to blame her here. I'm just trying to like look at all the options because they were not talked about, mentioned, presented in court.
Skinny Cook, welcome in. Welcome in.
And there's too many unanswered questions. He was found guilty because of his Google history, and to me, that's terrifying because my Google history is fucked up, and I automatically think like, oh, I would be so fucked.
Just here to lurk. Well, welcome in. Have a good time.
Me up at night, so I'm just like, if she was murdered, oh, like, that's
oh my gosh, me too. I'm glad you love her. Me too.
Murdered, but at least like in court, you should tell us how it was done. Does anyone else think that's fucked up, or is that, am I literally just playing devil's advocate here? You could tell
I'm good, and I didn't really do much, but overall a good day. That's what's up. I mean, it's still like not even 2 p.m. yet for me. I had a pretty chill day so far, but it's been good. I'm happy.
Because she was having an affair or something, and let me just make it clear, nobody deserves to die for having an affair. And if you believe that, you're an idiot. Sometimes the comments, you wouldn't believe what people think is okay to say publicly. It's just very shocking to me. Either way, this case or this murder, this
I love Bailey Sarian.
It's sad. It's really sad. The kids, they lost both of their parents. The son is probably traumatized and will have to carry this for the rest of his life. You know, like that's awful. And I hope they're okay. I'm just confused. I'm so confused on this one. There's a lot of people who believe he's guilty, but I don't know. Anyways, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. Thank you so much for hanging.
She has an ending theme song, so we're gonna stop there. All right, you guys, let's reset. So my cousin, I have a few talented cousins, and I'm sure the rest are fine. I just don't know whether or not they're talented. I'm not super close with family. One of my cousins has started a podcast because she is doing a master's program in Ireland, and she doesn't use music in her podcast either. And I would like to promote her podcast. It's called Bits and Bobs. And just promote her because she's great. I love her. Let's come up with a chord progression first. So we are in a new scene. Let's make this one a pad. So what we're going to do to make it a pad is we're going to add the attack. Let's just do Okay, we'll do 8. We'll do a C, this one. We'll do that one. What was the next one? Is it the B minor one? I feel like that's too slow. Well, I thought I would stop by and say hello. I'm going to go play some Rainbow Six Ranked and try and get back to gold, but hope you have a good rest of the stream. Thank you for stopping by, Bappo. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right, here we go. Here we go.
Hey you, it's Cassie. Welcome to Bits and Bobs and to this Set the Stage episode. Most of you probably know a good bit of this information already, but in case we have any new friends wandering in here, I wanted to go ahead and lay some groundwork. Also, let's be honest, it's been a minute since I was being really active and vocal about this thing, so we're due for a recap anyway. So, me. I am from Colorado Springs, Colorado, but I've lived in Nashville, Tennessee since 2010. It's where I did my undergrad, it's where I met my husband. I've spent my whole adult life
There we go. Sorry about that, everybody.
Why is the cathedral so
A
important?
Black Man Reaper.
I'm so glad you asked.
Thank you.
Remember in the podcast intro when I said I was getting my master's in liturgical music at St. Patrick's Pontifical University? Well, some key terms in there are liturgical and pontifical. And before you get freaked out about the weird big words, just inhale and exhale. This is not an educational podcast, although if you do happen to learn some things, I'm always here for that. I'm not here to alienate or overwhelm anybody with the vocabulary, so just hang with me. I will explain everything. Liturgy, or liturgical, refers to the form according to which public religious worship is conducted. So basically, liturgical music just means church music. In my experience, and I'm guessing yours too, the word liturgy or liturgical does carry a certain weight. They have more formal connotations to them. And there are reasons for
I'm
that.
back, Keycat, don't worry.
We'll get into later, but functional definition for the moment, church music. Pontifical means that this university was either established by or has been given special distinction by the Pope. No big deal. It's kind of a big deal. Again, you ask, why does any of this matter? What does it have to do with the cathedral in Nashville? Well, as you've gathered at this point, my university is Catholic. I'm studying music within the context of Catholic worship. So yep, you guessed it, I myself, Catholic. But that was not always the case. My background is in very fundamentalist Protestant churches, and I come from a staunchly anti-Catholic family. But when I was in college,
This podcast is called Bits and Bobs.
knew the music director at the cathedral, who at that time was in search of a section leader. And next thing you know, I'm a confirmed Catholic. And by next thing you know, I mean a few years of attending Mass, learning, rehearsing, and performing this music, and asking about a million questions later. It was not an immediate A to B process. But the moral of the story is, never underestimate your secondary connections. I never would have guessed that my college choir director recommending me for a part-time church gig would change my entire life. But it did, and here we are. Now, just because I sing and occasionally direct choir at a cathedral doesn't mean I have to go across the ocean to get a whole master's in church music, so where did that come from? Well, my obsession with music runs pretty deep, almost as deep as my obsession with Ireland. I've always wanted to live there. I've been dreaming about it since I was 8 years old, and I have applied and applied and applied and been denied and denied and denied many a study abroad program there over the years. But after a few years of immersing myself in the musical tradition at the cathedral, I started poking around the internet again for master's programs, this time in the field of sacred or liturgical music. Specifically, composition, because honestly, most new church music really isn't doing it for me. So someone's got to start writing better stuff. Be the change you want to see in the world, right? Or maybe it's more like, if you want something done That's not totally true. Actually having my interview with the program directors and being asked to come study there, that was like winning the lottery. Going to visit the school, exploring Ireland for 10 days with one of my best friends, that was like getting the physical lottery check in the mail. Seeing it with my own eyes, touching it was so real. And then, just a few weeks before I was supposed to get on a plane and start school and my new life in Ireland, the flight was canceled because of this global pandemic we're all living in. And that was kind of like my lottery check bounced. There was crying. Lots and lots and lots of crying. But I didn't kick my dream to the curb. And fortunately, neither did St. Patrick's. In fact, my program directors recommended taking a class or two right away, virtually. That way I could get started with the program and hopefully physically make it to Maynooth for the spring semester, rather than waiting a whole year to get the process started. Spoiler alert! None of that is what happened. I did not take a class or two. I took 6 classes. And as far as getting to Ireland for the spring semester, well, we'll deal with that when we get there. There were plenty of other ideas and notions that got scrapped along the way too, like thinking I was going to work full-time while I took 6 classes. Or that I had any idea what I was doing in Gregorian chant. Or that I would remember anything from that one time I took Latin when I was like 10 years old.
It's so nice to hear her laugh. I haven't seen my cousin
and yes, as a child, I
like
wanted to study
in the
Latin,
flesh
but that's not what we're here to
in
discuss.
6 years.
You can keep your opinions to yourself. All joking aside, things really did go sideways in a hurry. But none of that stopped a fully cross-cultural adventure from taking place. And the start of that adventure, aka the unprecedented shit show that was orientation in my first week of class, is what we'll be getting into on the next episode. So again, welcome aboard, folks. I've been an avid journaler my whole life, which sounds totally random, but I bring it up to say that for most of my life, my journey has been in my head, or in a book that only I get to read. But I'm bringing you with me because I wouldn't be here without the help of an amazing community of humans. I'm not going to go over all the details again here, but my education was entirely funded by generous friends and strangers, and every time things have seemed to be going completely awry, or I felt beaten down by canceled flights, changed plans, just this sheer exhaustion of trying to make all of this work, I've never been alone. There's always been encouraging words, good thoughts, prayers supporting me. So in those ways, you've already been on this journey with me. And hopefully these talks just bring us a little bit closer. And I'm looking forward to our next one. This has been Some Bobs. I'll talk to you soon. Cassie. Hey you, it's Cassie. Let's just dive right into it. What I guess was supposed to be orientation happened, and I'm as lost as last year's Easter egg. I've been swimming in emails about orientation for weeks and weeks, and when it finally came around, well, it didn't. It didn't actually come around. At least it didn't for me. I don't know about the other international students, but lonely Cassie was sitting there on her couch all day Wednesday waiting for a phone call, or a Zoom invite, or a Skype, or a something. Nope. Nothing. Worst blind date ever, I got stood up by my own university. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm a planner, and that means that orientation week is my freaking jam. Scheduling, course outlines, meeting professors, finding out what books I'm supposed to get, and then spending $1 million on them. These are a few of my favorite things. But actually, I love it. I do. I love the structure. I love the framework. I love having some idea of what's going to be happening to me for the next few months. And I got robbed on this one, y'all. And at this point, I liturgy, which has to do with history and theology and ritual and all of that. So anyway, I'm on the phone with John, who in the world of church music is an unbelievably huge deal. But at this moment, he's just the guy who's telling me what music classes I'm going to take and how learning and performing chant virtually is probably going to be a hot mess. I literally cried the whole phone call because I was already so overwhelmed and so sad I wasn't going to be there to do this in person. But I was hiding it, you know, like you do when you're on the phone and you're getting emotional and you don't want someone to know. You're like, yeah, no, that sounds great. Yeah, but at least I had some direction after that phone call. Class times, a couple of books to get, the music half of the semester planned-ish. The liturgy half, anyone's guess. So because of the way the semester calendar was structured, I ended up with only one class my very first week, and the rest started the following week. And my first class was harmony, not harmony like when you're listening to the radio and you're trying to be fancy, but 4-part harmony. Think old Bach choral music, okay? The rules and regulations of harmonic musical structure. All this might sound like gibberish to you, but being 6 years removed from my last music theory class, for me it was like being reunited with an old friend. Except in this story, the old friend was actually my old friend's twin who looked really familiar but didn't speak English. What do I mean by that? I mean that Irish English is not the same as American English, and that means most of their musical terminology isn't either. So my harmony instructor, Ray, he's asking about my background in theory and harmony and all that jazz. Not actually jazz. We're not doing jazz here. I'm letting him know that not only was I good in my theory classes in college, but I tutored music theory all through college. And so I'm letting him know that I am capable and learned and equipped. And then we actually get into analyzing some music, and I don't understand a thing this man is saying. So we backtrack, and all of a sudden it's like I am in remedial theory again. And yeah, it was humbling. It was something like this. See this note? This is called a quarter note, except it's not a quarter note anymore. It's a crotchet. Don't ask. What about chord symbols? Oh yeah, we do those. We use Roman numerals, but not the same way that you're used to doing them. Okay, sure. Fine. So what about inverted chords? How do we mark inversions? Oh yeah, we just mark them A, B, C, and D. Wait, what? You know what? Here's some more books for you. Why don't you just start here? Why don't you just get some middle school theory right here? Just start there. Truthfully, it wasn't actually that hard to pick things up, but it was so discombobulating at first. So there's my first class, my technical week 1. My first full week of classes, week 2, starts with me waking up at 6 in the morning to an email saying, hey, I know you're not officially registered for Latin, but you should take that. It starts in 2 hours. What? And then it's more emails with the program director, with the Latin professor, with the office of the registrar. And honestly, it was just a microcosm of what was about to be my whole life. Emails, Zoom calls, some weird platform called Moodle, Microsoft Teams, and me just trying desperately to make sure that I'm assessing the time difference correctly. Speaking of the time difference, it was right around this point that I discovered that one of my liturgy classes was going to be taking place at 10 a.m. Irish time, which is 4 a.m. Central Time. Ouch! So whatever, I get set up just in time for Latin. At this stage, most classes on campus are still meeting in person, just with masks and social distancing. So my Latin professor, Father Noel, because most of the faculty there are priests, he has me on a laptop on his desk while he talks over me, basically, to the class that's physically there, and is also writing on a chalkboard that I can see maybe the bottom third of, and it was what it was. And unfortunately, things definitely got worse for Latin before they got better, but we'll get to that. The rest of my classes were somewhat less frustrating, definitely less eventful. I'll get into those a little more in the future as things got real. Overall, to start though, I really just had lots of feelings of being way in over my head in so many ways. First, I'm not very tech savvy, so figuring out new platforms and tools took up so much of my time. Second, I don't know why I thought this, but in my mind, I thought that it would be so much easier to deal with potential culture shock or assimilation because I was just doing online classes. But that was a total lie. There are so many social norms and idioms that it took me forever to learn. Plus, I just felt so self-conscious in all my classes because I'm the only American. And I've traveled the world enough to know how annoying Americans can be without them realizing it. And third, at the end of the day, I'm a little baby Catholic. I've only been a member for 4 years, and there's just so much I don't know. But if you know me, you know that my favorite job to take on is the one that I'm not qualified for in the least. So, after more crying, lots more crying, I took some deep breaths and I started to dig into my homework. Not just the stuff I was being assigned, but also writing down every single thing that came up in class that I didn't understand. Whether that was a figure of speech, a musical term, a key moment in church history, literally anything I didn't recognize. I wrote it all down, and I still do that. But it works. I'm learning, and it makes me feel less overwhelmed that way. In many ways, I felt like school had become my whole life overnight. I figured out pretty quickly that I was lucky if I managed to work more than 2 or 3 days without feeling completely behind on everything. That situation deteriorated even more over time too, which was a tough pill to swallow for this workaholic. I also had this really cute idea that I was going to be totally organized and prep all my meals and follow this cute little schedule I made for myself. And I'll just let you fill in the blanks on how that went. Still, the first couple of weeks were officially complete. Things were moving forward. I hadn't quit yet, and honestly, I really miss being in school, so that by itself helped me keep going. Tune in next time for an update on what class at 4 a.m. is like, finding out how many possible ways there are to do a Latin assignment incorrectly, and a little glimpse at what it's like to perform Gregorian chant over video chat and get critiqued in real time. I'll give you a hint. It's even cringier than it sounds. Thanks for hanging out with me. This is Bits and Bobs.
Not as cringy as this.
Hey you, it's Cassie.
Not as cringy as this
Welcome to the
reverb is,
second full
let's be
week
honest.
of my first semester of grad school. Do you want the good news first or the bad news? We're just gonna go through it chronologically. Which means we start with some bad, or at least very frustrating news, all having to do with Latin. I've told this story to a couple of friends, and we already laugh about it because it's just so absurd, but when it was happening, I was ready to throw things through the window. So here's what happened. Every week, so far, and I'm assuming from here on in, we get assignments for Latin. So we will have a handful of sentences to translate to English and a couple of English sentences to translate to Latin. Yay. So once we've translated them, there's this cute little portal where we turn things in on Moodle. Again, Moodle. Who comes up with this stuff? And this portal is literally called Turn It In. Moodle, Turn It In. Anyway, I was a little bit confused about which sentences we were supposed to be translating because the heading on Turn It In sounded like it was referring to a different chapter than the one I worked on. So I emailed my instructor, no big deal, just checking in to clarify, and he says, yes, you're doing it wrong. Do the other chapter. So okay, whatever. I did double the work for my first Latin assignment.
Nice.
More practice for me.
I haven't
So
listened
I
to
do
this
the
one yet.
translations, and I submit them. Everything's great. I get to class, and first of all, getting into class was a class, but I saw a couple of links for the Panopto streaming, again with the names Panopto. So I click one of those links, and sure enough, it takes me to a live stream of class. However, the camera is pointing directly at my professor at his desk, and as soon as he gets up to write anything on the board, I can't see it. Plus, anyone asking questions in class is totally lost on me because they're all distanced and they're in masks, and I'm trying to hear what's going on from some crappy built-in audio on whatever computer is streaming this Panopto mess. Yeah. It probably takes me like half of class before I remember that there was a second link, and I go back and click on the other Panopto link, which, as fate would have it, has a much better audio and also lets me see.
I'm not texting you guys. I'm not texting.
Win for me.
Rika, thank you for the hydrate.
Wait, I'm trying to unwind myself from the total stress ball that I've become and start taking notes. That makes sense, but I don't get very far with that because we start reviewing our assignment. And guess what? The sentences he's reading are the ones I did the freaking first time, not the ones I submitted. So I did it right, but I was told I was wrong. And then I was double wrong because I submitted the wrong thing after I asked for clarification. But wait, the turn it in space where I thought I was supposed to submit things was not, in fact, the place where we submit things. There's actually a separate assignment Dropbox for the weekly assignments. So as he's telling us all of this in class, I go back and I submit my original work to the place it was supposed to go. And honestly, I haven't had the heart to check back and see if it got graded or what even happened to it because I was so frustrated.
Gotta keep the streamer hydrated. Thank you so much.
Based on what we did in class, my translating was on point for both.
I mean, I'm just
assignments.
jamming out here.
Moving on, my next class on Monday is Play Chant Performance. Whew. Let's just dive right into this situation. So I'm taking this class along with 4 undergraduate boys who I think are mostly taking it as electives or something. I'm not totally sure. They seem lovely, but I hate them because they get to be there in person and sing from behind plexiglass dividers while I have to be in this tiny apartment singing into my computer and hoping for the best, but knowing the whole time that it sounds terrible, and not just because of the technology. Last week, we were given an introduction on how to read chant because it's not written like regular musical notation. I don't know if you've ever seen chant before. Go Google it. I had some background in this whole thing because of the chant adaptations that we had done at the cathedral.
If anyone here somehow doesn't know Recalaxy, go follow
for
her.
like the first 5 minutes, and then it became apparent that I had no idea about any of the nuances of chant at all. Anyway, after that, we were given a small piece of chant to learn last week so that we could practice it and be ready to perform it by this class. I was set to go last, which initially was fine by me. Give me a minute to breathe and see how things go for everyone else, sort of get a sense of how great or terrible I am compared to the rest of my peers. By the time it got to me though, I was back in full stress ball mode. I almost faked a bad internet connection, so I didn't have to do it.
Oh,
But
Cassie,
I knew that
Cassie.
I just ended up having to do it later, so I steeled myself.
Steeled myself.
Whatever I did it anyway. Why was I so stressed, you ask? Well, besides being plagued my whole life with horrendous performance anxiety, I was also caught off
I do not have
by
performance
the
anxiety.
intensity, and let's just call it frankness of my chant professor. I think the first guy who went up to sing was 15 seconds in, and she jumped right
Thank you for the
in
shout out. I am having a good day. How are you, Rika?
And again. And again. I don't actually remember if he made it all the way through the piece. And that happened with everyone leading up to me. I was
I'm so excited for Among Us. Yeah, tomorrow? No, I'm excited too.
And the thing is,
Well, no, it's not
she wasn't
tomorrow for
really
you, but it's tomorrow, or it's
anything.
tomorrow,
She
it's
just-
Sunday morning, I think, my time.
She was so direct
Saturday.
and
Ooh,
so
woo.
detailed in her critiques, and I just wasn't ready. Just wasn't ready. First time out of the gate, just ripped to shreds, you know. I can't tell if it's an Irish thing or not. but all my professors are like that. I mean, they did have a big fat warning on the school's website claiming that Irish higher
Let's see how this
education
is.
is much more intense than American higher education, but, you know, maybe this is how that manifests. Regardless, long story short, we all kind of sucked through our first performances, but we were given critiques, and we get to take another swing at them in our next class. So I'm trying to comfort myself with that and chill out because I'm rolling
This might be nice.
right into my next class, which is liturgical composition.
Oh, does your brother
All
live
of my
close
classes
by?
on Monday are just bam, 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 bam. It's a lot. So, liturgical comp. This is the class where I actually get to write the new music. And by the end of this year, I will have a bodacious portfolio
Oh,
to
is
show
it
you.
your brother's birthday?
That's what my professor Ed tells me. But right now, I just have one short assignment to get my feet wet, and I have 2 weeks to get it done. Sounds simple enough. And if anyone's super curious, the assignment is to set the Canticle of Simeon, which is a lovely passage from the Gospel of Luke chapter 2. Go Google that. And yeah, I'm just gonna say it right now. I think I've only finished one composition piece since I graduated in 2014.
I'm also excited,
So,
Alk.
we'll see if I'm total garbage at this, or if I have any talent at all, or if it all just oozes
If anyone
out
doesn't
my
know
random
who's in here, Sir Elkhorn is a
So
new
that was
affiliate
Monday.
and a very good friend.
I
Definitely
think
check
I
him out as well.
recommend just
Go follow him.
telling it to you. And that's only 4 hours of class. How on earth do people do
20
this
minutes
for
is
8
close.
hours
20 minutes
or
is
more
close.
a day? I don't
Oh,
know.
it's your sister-in-law's
Anyway,
birthday.
Tuesday
Oh,
brings
that's
us
super
to the
cute.
good news. The good news is that my 4 a.m. class is now a 5 a.m. class. Honestly, there's so much more bad news than good news this week, but this 1 hour
Ooh, it's for her
class time
30th.
almost
Exciting.
amazing enough to completely balance the scales. I know that hour would not make much difference to a lot of people. Being up before the sun is still being up before the sun. And this class, this 4 a.m., now 5 a.m., 2-hour-long class, is my Introduction to Liturgy and the Sacraments of Initiation class. Try saying that 5 times fast. Again, I'm probably speaking gibberish here, but suffice it to say that most of this class is going to cover church history. How we got here, why we do what we do, and in some cases, why we don't do what we don't do. And that is some hefty material to take in the wee small hours. Fortunately, I'm a crazy person and have always loved them early mornings. Seeing the sunrise is truly my happy place, but in order to be functional by 4 a.m., I was needing to get up at 3 a.m. so I could get up, stretch, make a cup of coffee, make the trip to the bathroom that always follows the cup of coffee on an empty stomach, if you know, you know. And now that my class is at 5, I don't have to get up and at 'em until 4, which is glorious. One of the other things I'm doing before class that I felt a little self-conscious about is putting on makeup. And let me be clear, when I say putting on makeup, what I really mean is splashing water on my face, throwing on some concealer and a tinted moisturizer so that I'm not all blotchy and weird on camera. And even though part of me feels like it is silly to be doing that, I'm just going to take you down this bunny trail for a second on why I think I'm justified. So, I don't know how many of you have been doing work or school or most of your social life virtually for the last several months, but the thing I'm discovering about my fellow students in almost all of my classes is that none of them keep their cameras on during class, which means it feels kind of like I'm getting privately tutored
Oh,
by all my
interesting.
professors, because seriously, nobody else shows their face. But I feel so bad for my instructors. They're just
Oh,
lecturing
Cassie, you're so
into
cute.
thin air and a blank screen, and so I feel compelled to keep my camera on. So
Makes
they're
you
not
memorable.
alone in there. But then all I can think about is the fact that me and the professor are the only people that you can see, and all you can see on me is that pesky hormonal acne that's always getting freaky on the right side of my chin, so I cover it up with makeup. Sue me. So that's why I do it. Because if I don't do it, then I'm just spending the whole class thinking about my pimples on camera, and I'm not actually paying attention to what little we know about the first 300 years of Christianity, or all the cool shit that Constantine's mother did. But I digress. The good news is, class begins at
This
5
beat
a.m.
turned out
on Tuesday
nice.
instead of 4 a.m. Fabulous. have on Tuesday is a seminar on the different approaches to liturgy studies. It's a small class, and all of us are virtual, which I freaking love because it means that I can actually see and hear my classmates who are all super cool. One of them is an Irish guy who is in the second year of my program, the liturgical music program, so I feel like we're already
her
so
senpai.
on the same page. The other two are a priest from Croatia, so cool, and a software engineer from Romania, both of whom now work and live in Ireland and come from way different backgrounds from me, and they're just such cool guys. They're all awesome. I'm super stoked to get to know them and dig into the class material and just have those discussions. Super stoked. And there you have it. Monday and Tuesday, big fat stacked days. Next week, I'll start having an additional chant class on Thursdays that meets as well as my Tuesday class. I'm sorry, my Monday class. The Thursday one, John is going to teach. You remember John, the guy that called me after I got ghosted during
Mystic
orientation
Captain, welcome
and
in.
stuff to me about my music classes? That John. So I will check in about how that goes next week. I get the feeling that I could take chant every day of the week and probably still be terrible at it.
I really liked how this sounded.
So, all things considered, it went
I love
well,
this part.
I guess. My second full week. Whew. I've basically been my own motivational speaker, just trying to survive these weeks, honestly. God bless my husband, having to deal with me through all the ups and downs. Did I mention that I got married like a month before class started? The original idea was actually to fly to Ireland 4 days after the wedding, but we ended up having to scramble and figure out where the heck we were going to live instead. He's a champ, in case that wasn't obvious. Love that guy. The thing is, I knew I wasn't ready for what was coming with this semester. I knew I wasn't ready. Getting a
I am
degree
doing well, bro. I
online,
am doing well. Thank you for coming.
and I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, especially one with all the complications that music brings to the table. It's just crazy. There's already so much more homework than I anticipated, even when I'm not doing double with what I'm supposed to. I really do love my classes and my professors. They are working so hard to include me. They haven't made me feel like the dumb American at all yet. I'm glad I have my therapist. That's all I have to say. And with that, I'll leave you for this week. Thanks for hanging out with me. Tune in next time to find out what first class honors are, where this podcast got its name, and to witness the beginning of the total unraveling of my concept of what church services should look like. This is Bits and Bobs. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, let's find someone to raid, guys. All right, I got 3 people here. Gonna do a poll. Vote for who you guys think we should raid. Got 1 new person and 2 good friends. Ooh, people are voting for DJD. Looks like he's gonna win. Yeah, DJD won, you guys. Yeah, lurking and vibing. It sounds cool. Thank you, B, and I liked this one. Oh, it's confusing. He's playing my music. Okay. Okay. I didn't know how the podcast would work, but it works out well. Right? Right? Didn't turn out good? If you guys are subbed, use raid message 1. If you are not subbed, use raid message 2, or use whichever one you want. Thank you guys for coming and vibing with me. This is like honestly one of my favorite ways to make music, so I really appreciate that you guys like to come and enjoy it with me. And I have a new streaming setup for gaming, so maybe I will actually be streaming more over this weekend or something. I don't know. Is my hair nice? Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, have a good time, everybody. Let's go get some hype for DJD.